We're just about to start. We have more people joining in. We've just about gone live. Before we start today's session, while people do join in, thank you all so much for joining. I can see you've joined from different places, different cities. Thank you so much. This is a session by Amwiser. It's knowledge by experience. We have with us today Mr. Abdul Nasir Sheikh. Before I introduce him and we start the session, I would like to thank him that although he's unwell and he's agreed to take the session, which really shows how positive he is, while he has COVID. And of course, we'll talk about that too. And he's been positive, and we're going to do this session today. Amwiser, Knowledge by Experience, is conceptualized for young adults, where industry experts like Mr. Abdul Nasir Sheikh speak to the young adults. And I call them young adults because they're not really children anymore. They're not really adults yet. And they're in that phase where the industry experts share knowledge, inspire, and motivate them. There are a lot of issues that today's young adults are faced with, whether peer pressure, depression, abuse by use of social media, self-esteem issues, confidence. A lot of these issues are not really taught as part of any school syllabus, and we expect it to just learn by experience. A lot of young adults make career choices without fully understanding the complexities. So this is a sincere effort to guide and support them. You could be a young adult, you could be a parent, a teacher, or just a co-worker who's wanting to learn on this topic, and that's what this platform is for. It is open for all, as I believe that knowledge should be equally accessible, and it is our duty to guide future generations. So today's topic is adversity to advantage. I'm sure all of you have at some point of time felt like things are stacked up against you, or have you ever really felt that it is an all is lost moment? There are several people in the world, famous people that we know, who've taken each adversity and converted that into an advantage. If we talk of Franklin Roosevelt, he was paralyzed from the waist down before running for office. But his achievement was that he was four-time president of the United States. If we take the famous actor Tom Cruise, he grew up in near poverty. The family was dominated by an abusive father, whom Tom Cruise described as merchant of chaos. But he was nominated, and he took that adversity, and he became an actor, as we all know him, and got 3 Academy Awards, won 3 Golden Globe Awards, and is one of the highest paid actors. And lastly, Viktor Frankl he was imprisoned. If you don't know about him, he was imprisoned at several concentration camps by the Nazis. His wife and his family was killed, but he took that adversity and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which is one of the 10 most influential books in the United States. So we have with us today Mr. Abdul Nasir Sheikh, a believer in himself. He is the CEO of Lexicon Management Institute of Leadership and Excellence, a board member, Rising Star Outreach of India, a husband, a father, a leadership coach. He's also a TEDx speaker, a motivational speaker, and a passion catalyst. His passion over the years has rewarded him with the following awards: the Debbie Marriott Harrison Take Care Award of Excellence, the Asia Pacific Take Care Award in 2019, the BW Hotelier General Manager of the Year 2017, and many more. For him, success is not how high you have climbed, but how you make a positive difference in the world. He has close to 2 decades in leadership roles in the hospitality and the education industry with Marriott International, the Lexicon Group of Institutes, amongst other brands. And he's always ensured to put people first, to lead the team, to pursue excellence with integrity, and drive outstanding results for all stakeholders. So thank you so much, Mr. Abdul Nasser Sheikh, to join us today.
Thank you, Parveen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I know you're not feeling too well, so any time that you need to take a break, please do let me know.
Absolutely. I'm doing good. So we get started. You comfortable with that?
Yes.
So, what we'll kind of do today is I'll talk to you a little bit about things that have been close to my heart, a little bit about my journey, what's worked for me. And then if there are any questions that you have, I'll be happy to answer them. And I'm going to talk to you about something that happened to me as an incident years back. I think it was close to 1989. I have a younger brother. His name is Wahab. Uh, I'm called Nasir. And we both used to play table tennis together. We were a lovely doubles team. And during the game, we were rallying, we were practicing. And what happened is when you're top spinning, doing a top spinning smash, you kind of go over your shoulder. I didn't realize my brother was just behind me and my racket went and broke his nose. Yeah, it's a sports accident. So, went across to the doctor. He got stitches out there and we went back home. One of the things that I did not realize in all that chaos that was happening at that point of time is that he had a race the next morning. He was a long distance runner, and it was the Andela Legathon. For those who are in Bombay and who were around in Mumbai at that point of time, we realized it was a big race that was there, and every school had to send one or two representatives, and Wahab was one of them from our school, Campion. And now the question was, as far as my parents did and I did, was that he was not going to run that race because he's just got stitches, and the way forward from that is to rest and let it go. But he was very, very insistent on running the race. And he was very insistent that he will run the race and he'll give it his best and he'll go for it. I really didn't understand the thought process at that point of time. I did not understand why would he want to do something like that. But yeah, next morning he ran the race and he did what he had to do and he won the race, right? And after the race, because out of being his elder brother, and I was literally running with him the whole thing, just in case there's anything that happens to him. And when we kind of caught up after the race, I asked him the question, why did you need to run the race? And a little boy then, he told me that, if Nasir, I let these small obstacles come in my way, how will I live my life? It clearly went as a bouncer for me. Means at that point of time, I did not even realize what he's talking about. But years down the line, that incident really sat with me, and it kind of showed me that obstacles, difficulties, things that are not in our control will come our way, and how we kind of handle them is something that will define our journey and our path. Whilst I'm sitting and talking to you today, mid last week, I got detected for COVID, and then I spoke to Parveen on Saturday. I said, "Hey, listen, I'm not well." So she asked me, do you want to kind of postpone the session? The easy option normally is to say yes. Postpone it, cancel it, let me not do this. But I have always believed that if you have the capability to do something, then go ahead and do it. Because there will never be something called a perfect time. And as I sit with you today and I'm talking to you, I'm recovering fast. God is kind. And I've been able to get across this adversity. And I've used it to my advantage to come across and talk to beautiful people, both the young adults and adults across out there who are hearing me out, who are listening me out. Now, this would have not been possible if I had to use the word no, right? So this is kind of the context that I want to start with, and then we'll talk a little bit about some examples that kind of come to mind. Parveen kind of set the tone by mentioning a few. Viktor Frankl's one of my favorite books is Man's Search for Meaning, and I've read that book multiple times. In fact, I've done a book review of it. It just talks so beautifully about the thought process an individual should have, and how he, during his time in the Nazi camps, still came out to kind of become a really positive thinker, and is one of the best known psychologists that who ever lived, and who's guided people out. So if you haven't read the book, you must read the book. The other thing that kind of I wanted to talk about today is a little bit about a lot of importance how people put on coming first. That this statement that comes across saying that if you've come second, or if you lost the finals, nobody remembers you. And then they will ask you some World Cup or some this. You ask me the World Cup and you ask me the winner, I will not remember normally. But I think they put a lot of pressure on ourselves and our children. I have a 7-year-old where we say that winning is the most critical thing. But I think you need to define winning from a perspective of each individual. And I'll give you an example. Both my younger brother and I went to Campion, and I was a very average student through and through. And when I passed grade 10, I got 70.5%. And when I got the 70.5%, there was a celebration in my house. There was a celebration in the house as if I had topped the ICSE board. Means whoever, there was relatives, there were mithais going out and everything. Because my parents recognized that I had given my best, and I have yielded the best result that I could. Now, similarly, my younger brother, he scored a 93, if I'm not mistaken, and there was a similar celebration in the house. Because it was not that his celebration was more than mine or mine was more than his, but it was a recognition of the fact that there were two children who were unique, who had to go through the bit, and they celebrated us to our potential and to our achievement that was there. And if we are able to kind of create that as a mindset for our children, for the young adults that are there, what we'll do is we'll be starting to set them up for success. It's not necessary that you need to be a 90%er to be achieving something in life, or you need to be brilliant in a certain study to be achieving success in life. Success will come to you depending on how and what you kind of look at in terms of your personal satisfaction. A lot of times we measure success from a tangible aspect perspective. And what it does to us, it kind of sets up failures, or it sets up things which are perceived to be failures for us. And these are failures that are not defined by me as an individual, but defined by somebody else who really has no role or no control in my life. And it could even be your parent, because whilst the parent may be able to guide you till a certain aspect, provide you for the needs, after a certain point of time, you need to be able to take that step forward and move it forward for you to achieve your own pedestal. And I'll give you an example of, again, it's something that goes back to my childhood, and it's about my mother. She couldn't speak English, right? So one of her pieces that mom had is that, may God bless her soul, is that her children should go to a fantastic school where they learn the best English, they set themselves up for success. At that point of time, her parameter or thing that she had put across for us was knowing English will help us succeed, and how right she was, because the world has transitioned into that perspective. So she chose Campion, and when she chose Campion, she didn't realize how expensive Campion was. We come from a low middle class family. We got admission out there. Both us children got admission out there, but the challenge actually started then. The challenge started then is because she couldn't afford to pay the fees for both Wahab and me on time every time, which meant that things would become difficult. And I have seen her go through most of these challenges at that point of time, and pawn her jewelry, to take loans to ensure that we completed our studies successfully and did that well. But even during this period, there was not a single point in time that she must have told me, Nasir, that, listen, you are a 60% or a 70%, and look at the amount of money I'm spending and how I'm spending it for you, and you need to get 90. Uh, but the thought process was most that, understand what you're doing, get to know more people, understand what the life and the world that you're going to get into be, and make it successful for yourself and make it work for you. And that's something that those lessons for me worked beautifully, because when I passed out of my 12th, I wanted, because my dad was an engineer at that point of time, I thought I should be doing engineering. So I joined aeronautical engineering and got through that. And a few years later, it was a 3-year course. And I think in the second year, I realized that this is not what I want to do. And I'm sharing a lot of my failures. I'm sharing a lot of things that really didn't work for me at that point of time. For the kids or the young adults who are hearing me, to understand that it's not necessary that your first step is always got to be success, right? Success can come to you when you define it, or when it's destined to come to you. So I decided at that point of time is I don't want to do aeronautical engineering, and I went and spoke to my dad and my mom, and they were supportive enough and said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And I said, okay, I want to do hotels. And that's how I got into hotel school and went on to then become a hotelier. And through my 20-year journey in hotels, started as an assistant manager, grew on to be a general manager for a few stints, won multiple awards, and did extremely well because that was my true calling. Similarly, uh, late last year, I decided that I wanted to give back more to the society, and I wanted to kind of give back um, into young adults learning and becoming better citizens. And how do I do that? Is when I got this opportunity to then transition into a role of education and to take on my current role, which is as Chief Executive Officer with the Lexicon Group of Institutes, which is into education. And on my role as a board member with the Rising Star Outreach, which looks after leprosy impacted children. They're basically kids from the colonies who aren't allowed to have challenges to get across to basic needs as education. And then we kind of provide that through that NGO that exists. And I used it to my advantage, and I used it to work for me. And what kind of is and is most critical. So, Parveen, if you have any questions, and then I can answer specific questions versus being a monologue. Whatever works for you. I've got a few more examples that we could go through, or if there are any questions that you have, I could answer those.
No, let's just go through your examples first.
All right. So, this is a little bit about myself, right? And uh, I'll give you, we were talking about famous people a little while earlier. So let's take, for example, just give me a moment. I think there's a doctor. The doctor must have just come. Just give me 1 second, please. Just give me a second.
While he resumes, just to let you know, he's a little unwell. He's got COVID. I think that's going to be a natural question when I do get the chance on how he's used that positively, the time that he has had in the hospital. While he continues to be in the hospital, he's taking the session from there, and how he's converting that into his advantage. Let's talk about that too once he's back. In the meantime, if you've already thought of any questions that you have, please do post it. And I'll take it up for sure, or feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question directly. Great.
My apologies. That comes just, you need to, there are a few checks that happen during the day. So they
Right.
just come and check on that.
Go ahead. Started with your first example.
Great. I was talking about you've got famous people, and you've got people who we kind of think have achieved success straight off, or they were born brilliant to achieve it. And when you say the word genius, or you say the word brilliant, I think if there's one name that comes up to your mind, it's Einstein. And Einstein is associated with intelligence and synonymous with genius. And the fact lies that Albert Einstein himself actually couldn't speak fluently um, for the largest part of his younger life. And he had his own challenges at that point of time. And there were his teachers had close to called him being retarded, right? And it is even told that when his school teachers asked him a question, he would take forever to answer, even sometimes silently mouthing his words to himself before slowly speaking them out loud. And people thought that Einstein would not achieve success or would not be successful at anything. Um, One of the things that was there in him, there was a little bit of rebelliousness in him, and that nature of his led to his expulsion from school, and he was at one point of time refused admission to the Zurich Polytechnic School. And regardless of all of Einstein's setbacks and rejections by the general public and education, he continued his studies, experimentations, and worked on the various theories that he went on to kind of be successful with and be known for. In fact, it was not until one of his first theories, the special theory of relativity, was published that the scientific community even recognized his great talents. And even then, a lot of them actually said that his theory was useless, and they went on to say that Einstein did not have a logical mind. So he did not let his setbacks stop him, and he went on to win the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. And after all, he always said that the fact that success is failure in progress. And to this day, Einstein is somebody that we kind of talk about as somebody who's brilliant and somebody who we kind of all look after and work towards a lot of our children wanting to be. Now, one of the things that I learned from Einstein's story is the fact that never judge somebody on how they're starting off and how they're kind of setting up themselves in terms of their life, because each person paces themselves differently. And there are people, and you've got Donald Trump, who became president at the age of 75. You've got Biden now, who's becoming president at the age of 77. Although Biden's been in the political life all this while, Trump was an outsider, right? Trump is somebody who came from really nowhere and went on to become the most powerful man in the world, completely at an age which is crossing 70, which nobody would believe is possible. So don't discount anybody for their thought process. Don't discount yourself for what you can achieve and where you can get to. Another great example is Oprah. Oprah Winfrey is one of the ladies who's now one of the most powerful women or the most popular women in the world. But she got fired from her first job because the person told her that you're too invested in the cases or in the issues that you report. Now, the easy piece would be to kind of give up. But she actually used that aspect of hers in terms of how well she was invested, emotionally invested in those situations to come up with one of the most successful talk shows uh, in the world, right? And it has been one of the most popular talk shows even to today. Don't let people tell you what works for them and what doesn't work for them. Things need to work for you. Tiger Woods, 2019, he won the Augusta Masters, and he was one of the most well-known golf players, having won everything until 2011, 2012. Tiger Woods was winning everything and anything that he was playing. But he went through a rough patch. He went through a bad personal patch. Then he went through a lot of issues in terms of medical issues, where he had multiple surgeries, where there was a point of time that he did not know if he would even walk. But he kind of continued to believe in himself, practice, make it happen, and he came back to win the 2019 Augusta Masters. It's one of the most phenomenal wins that he's had, and people count it as one of his greatest wins. And post that, he went on to equal Sam Snead's record by winning the Zozo Championships and making it his 82nd win, which is a tie with Sam Snead. And he's still playing. He's still giving his best shot to kind of become the one with the highest wins. Now, when he had that surgery, when he had the knee surgery, when he had the back surgery, one of the things that could again have been, he didn't really have to come back to the golf course. And somebody recently asked him, why are you still playing? Because he says, I don't have to play, but I want to play. I don't have to win, but I want to win. And it is that want in you that is going to define where you reach, right? And that's what's always been for me. It's from being a small wins to large wins on projects. It's not having to have to do it, but wanting to do it, and wanting to do it from the bottom of my heart and my thought process in terms of making things work. There was a lovely example that I had come across of an acorn, and how. Let me try and pull that out. You know, um, let me get that out. Very interesting one, where the acorn kind of, the person divided the acorn into three parts, and the three parts he divided was the stem, the cap, and the seed. And he said that the stem, it defines one's legacy, history, lineage, DNA. So this is something that you get naturally. Like when you're born, you will get this. The second aspect is the cap. Now, some are chosen and some are given to you by the people who you kind of meet, or life kind of gives them to you. They are your guides, they are your mentors, they are your teachers. But the element that kind of really is something that you need to define is the seed, right? The seed reflects the potential of the individual and will be the base for the generations to come. And the health of your seed defines the heights you reach. And how do you define the health of your seed? It is by a simple thought process that is about truly believing in yourself, and believing that you are able to achieve success. Now, a lot of people say, Nasir, it's so very easy to say that just believe in yourself and things will happen. But honestly, it's worked for me. Every time that I have been in a challenge, and every time I have come across an obstacle which may have seemed very, very large to somebody else, I have been able to get through that challenge just by something which is as simple as believing in myself. And when I had heavy symptoms when I got detected, and it was an extremely painful first couple of days. And everybody was worried. He says, we'll pray. I said, listen, see, one thing that you need to define is that I am confident that I'll come out of this strongly, and I will come out of this fitter, better, and healthier. The main thing that I obviously need to do is ensure that I follow the advice that my doctors give me. Isolate so that I do not in any way contribute to somebody else becoming sick, be it family, friends, or any work colleagues that you kind of engage with. But I'm not going to let this thing bog me down, where I am going to, sit and sympathize and pity myself that, hey, how did I get it? Who was the person who gave it to me? That's not going to be the case. And I've used this time very, very constructively, other than the first couple of days where it was very difficult to do anything. The rest of the time I have used it. I did a video on creativity as a mindset. Sitting out here, I had some, got a camera, put that across, made a video which I will upload on YouTube. I did a lot of work in terms of strategizing, thought processes, in terms of things that I can do better in terms of concepts. And I use this time as me time. Because in this rush of this world, it's sometimes very difficult to get this me time, and this was God given me time to me in a way. And I kind of looked at it from that perspective, and it's worked for me. So, yep. Yeah, Parveen. So that's a little bit there. And I thought that the rest of the time I'll be happy to answer any questions and work
Sure.
towards any thoughts that you have.
No, it's wonderful. In fact, the positivity that you've had even through COVID is something to learn from.
I guess that's one of the reasons I got positive.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. So, you've obviously examined and studied a lot about and read a lot about what successful people do and how they've taken their adversities and, overcome that. So is there a typical pattern that you have observed of how they have faced it, and the pattern that which is followed, which is very typical of anybody who goes through such a journey?
So I think there are three things that are common in most successful people. I think one is grit and diligence, right? Means they're very, very focused towards the goal that they want to achieve. Second, there is that belief in themselves. Now, this belief in themselves is something that kind of have come out of something which is within their parents or through somebody else who's a mentor on an influencer. And the third aspect is hard work. Means there is nobody who has become successful by putting in a lot without putting in a lot of hard work. You name anybody, they have had the grit to not give up. They've been passionate about what they want to do. They put in a lot of hard work, and in the end, believed in themselves. And I don't think there's a single successful person, and I would love to meet one who has been able to be successful without believing in themselves or believing in the thing that has made them successful. You know, you may have not liked what you did, but you believe that this worked for them, and then only would they have become successful in that. Because if you yourself do not believe in it, it will become an obstacle, and you'll not do it.
That's right. It's more about believing in it than treating it as an obstacle.
Correct.
There are always obstacles. The objective is to really overcome that, and tie that away. Uh, is there anything that you'd want to guide everybody who's watching as to what is it that they should do when they feel they're being, it's a moment where all is lost or there's no sense of direction?
Normally, when an obstacle comes your way, there are three ways that you can kind of attack that obstacle. One is you go around the obstacle and let that problem be there for you to resolve it sometime later. And there are in life there will be such things. Not every problem needs to be addressed at that moment of time. You need to prioritize. Now, and our education system also, for example, has been moving towards that. When we were in our ICSC, we could choose best 5 out of 6 subjects to kind of move forward. The reason being, if there was one subject that you were not good at, you could try it, but it would not be counted in your scoring. It kind of gave a limitation in terms of which streams you could go for, but you had that option available. And with the NEP coming in, it allows you more and more to kind of do what works for you. So I'm giving you a simple example, like if there is a certain subject that doesn't work for you, go for it, learn it, understand it, but don't let that become the obstacle to your studies. There must be something that is really brilliant that you are at. Go after that one and work towards that and become successful in that. So one way is to leave a problem aside, come back and tackle it later when you're more equipped. It could be anything. The other piece is if it's something which is immediate and needs to be handled immediately, tackle it head on, right? Tackle it head on, but tackle it with strategy. There's sometimes the wall needs to be broken, or sometimes you need to climb over the wall and get over it. So you need to analyze what is the problem. Uh, let me give you an example about this. So when my dad was small, there was a point of time when he was really really hungry, and his stepmom told him, "Bhook lagi hai to bhok. You're hungry, bark." And I remember that when he passed away in his late 60s, he still remembered that sentence that his mom had told him. Now he did not remember it in terms of uh, a feeling of disgust or feeling of anger towards his mom, but it was more of a thing that he used as an inspiration to himself to kind of do well. He went on to fund his studies. At that point of time, he lived in an area called Temkor Molla, which is in JJ. And at the same time that you hear about guys like Dawood and all kind of coming and becoming gangsters and becoming popular. He chose to stay away from those group of people. He funded his own studies by at that time you had to manually put the soda cap on the bottle, and you used to get I think 1 paisa or something like that at that point against that. And he funded not only his schooling, but he funded his engineering. He then went on to become an award-winning shipbuilding engineer with Mazgan Dogs, and was amongst the first people to be part of the first indigenous frigate that India made, which is from the Giri class. Right now, he had a choice. That there was poverty that was hitting him. There were days that he was really, really hungry, and he had somebody who as a mother, told him, "Listen, if you're hungry, bark." Now, the easier thing would be to see a few people who are in the neighboring gullies or in the neighboring roads or neighboring buildings are able to get easy money by whatever they were doing. And he chose to attack that problem in a way which is different, and which kind of set up not only his life, but set up my life and the life of my generations to come. Now, if he had to take that one wrong step at that moment of time, he was not only ruining his own life, but the life of his younger brothers, his siblings, and the family at large. So the reason I share this with you is more about that, life has choices. Problems will come your way. Don't look at a problem as an issue that is going to bog you down, but try and find solutions to it. I came across today a colleague of mine whose 13-year-old daughter has written a book. Wow. It's just amazing. When you see something like that, you want to go and encourage. And when you see your friends, your friends, your cousins, your children's friends doing something really out there, which is great, go encourage them. And you will see that the world will be a happier place from that perspective. And one of the things that, Parveen, that works very, very well for me has been the concept of mindfulness. It is something that allows me to be in tune with myself. It helps me to know where I am, what I'm doing, in what state I am. And a few things that work for me very, very beautiful in terms of mindfulness are having a routine. I ensure that there's a certain time that I get up and a certain time that I sleep. Now, irrespective, there are days that sometimes that I'm not able to sleep at that time. I will still get up at the same time. Yoga and meditation. Meditation works more for me. I take my time out for myself. This is both through spiritual meditation in terms of prayers, and at the same time, I follow a practice called transcendental meditation that works really well for me. Uh, the other aspect is milestones. I have always in life set up small milestones for me, and I celebrate those wins. Uh, the other pieces that works for me is personal time. I will, during the day, find out always an hour for myself. And sometimes people say, listen, how the hell do you find an hour for yourself when there is so much that is happening around you? I will find that hour for myself. The other thing is sleep. People underrate sleep. There's nothing more important than sleeping. Make it a point that you get your 8 hours or 9 hours of sleep. It is the healthiest thing that you can do to yourself, and there's not much of effort. Irrespective of what age you are at, it's not a lot of effort when you get in your sleep. It gets you back fresher, it keeps you more mindful, it keeps your brain healthier, it keeps your body healthier, and helps you to recuperate very, very quickly in case there is an injury or in case that you're unwell. And the last two things are gratitude. So I make it a point that I'm extremely thankful to God for all the things that I have. I don't look at things that I don't have. And while it may sound as gyan, I really follow that through completely. I always look at the positives. I try to find things that work for me, what God's given me. I'm very thankful to Him for a roof over my head, 3 meals that I don't have to worry about. During this whole COVID period, it was a full reflection of making one realize when the lockdown happened is how little you need to do well, right? And there was a point of time that if you thought that you needed 100, and when you went through that lockdown period, you realized that you only need 20 to have a very, very comfortable life. And I hope people have actually taken a sense of that aspect during this lockdown and done reflection to realize what is their need of life. And I'm thankful for the family that I have. I mean, I'm thankful I've got a beautiful wife, Fareen, and a son, Ayan, and they are the light of my life. And a younger brother and his wife and his daughter, and the six of us are one big happy family. And don't discount that. Don't discount your parents, because whilst they may be around you today, if you're lucky that they're around you today, be thankful to them. I don't have them around, and if there's one thing that I would change in my life is have my parents back. So be thankful to God that they are there, and be thankful to God for everything that is there with you. And these things will eventually help you to really kind of win, in terms of irrespective of what obstacle comes your way, what adversity hits you. You will see that success will be with you, because you've got people who you care about and who care about you around you.
That's so true. I think these messages, very simply put, also relevant. Hana, would you like to say something?
I just wanted to thank you so much for guiding us. I think my favorite concept was definitely the mindfulness one. I think I will try it. I'm not sure whether I'll go do it fully, but I'll try it. All that you taught us were really great life lessons. Thank you and get well soon.
Thank you, Anna. The fact that you want to do something, it shows how mindful you are of that aspect of it, right? The fact that you're thinking about it shows your mindfulness. So you're already way ahead than you think you are.
Yes. Aditya, would you like to say something?
I
Anybody else?
really enjoyed this session. It was nice. And I had a similar experience to you since I was in Campion earlier.
Sorry?
I had a similar experience to what you were going through in Campion.
Okay.
Since I was in Campion earlier, after I
He
shifted
was
to Delhi.
also in camping.
Oh,
And then I
you want
shifted
to
out
talk a
to
little bit about it?
NPS.
I love the school.
Yes. No, but thank you so much. Get well soon. Thank you for removing time. And
Yeah.
we'll all try and catch up soon. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back, in fact, tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Praveen. Thank you for the opportunity. It was lovely being there. And I look forward to the session that you've got tomorrow with, I think, with
Bala. She's going to be designing.
Thank you for arranging this beautiful session that it clears our mind in every topic and every concept. Thank you.
So much for your kind words. Thank you.